The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines, the path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to the Journey Within You. I am just blessed to have Sarah with us today. Sarah, we met at Align. This is a Brooke Hemingway thing that I go to every January. You know, I talk about it. The guys hear me all the time talk about it. But I had the pleasure of meeting Sarah there and also hearing her music there. That's what I love about this type of thing. When you put yourself in the room, you're going to meet people and you're going to get connections that are a lifetime, because we are in the same realm of our thoughts and things that we're wanting in life. So Sarah, I would just love for you to take a moment and share with us your journey.
Yeah, it's a long journey. I really had to think about like what pieces of my journey to share. But you mentioned just starting with childhood. So I grew up in a small town called Hilo on the Big Island of Hawaii. And I grew up really close to town, but we were in the sugarcane fields. And so even though I was like 5 minutes from the school I went to and from downtown, it really felt rural because we didn't have neighbors and we're just surrounded by these sugarcane fields and streams. And my whole childhood was just memories of swimming in the rivers and running through
Mm.
the dirt hills and climbing trees and things like that, very outdoors. And so I still have like a deep love for nature, for sure. So that was kind of my childhood growing up, and I am one of 8 children. So
Oh.
I'm number 7 out of 8. So I'm on the younger end. And
Mhm.
the older ones will always say the younger ones had it so much easier, which I'm sure is very true. We
Oh,
had a different life, there was,
yeah.
um,
Well, by
I,
the time they get to you, they're like, oh, just go.
yeah, it's a whole
Just
different
do.
situation. But we have a very close family.
Mm.
I'm very close with my sisters. I have 4 sisters, very supportive and loving, and we
Oh.
have a group text. And yeah, it's a good situation. Um, so that's where I grew up, and
Yeah.
I grew up with the direction I'm going to go in this. So I am a coach now, and that's a
Mhm.
whole long journey to get there. I'm actually also a licensed psychotherapist. I got my
Mm.
master's in social work, and I was working as a therapist, and I trained in EMDR. So I specialized in EMDR is a type of therapy that's used specifically for trauma and processing
Okay.
traumatic memories.
Mhm.
And so I specialized in like trauma, inner child healing, that type of work. And then I transitioned over to coaching a couple years ago. It's been about 2.5 years.
Mm.
And so sometimes I combine some of those therapeutic, like inner child
Mhm.
healing techniques with the coaching skills when somebody's feeling stuck. And I'm like, okay, this is some deeper
This is
healing
what we need to do.
that
Yeah.
yes. And I know a lot of you do
The
the
180 method.
180 method. I'm
Yeah.
not super familiar with it yet. I just started. I'm in Brooks Mastermind right now. And so that is part of the program that we're learning, and I've only
You're
done a
gonna
couple
love it.
sessions of it. But I think it might overlap a lot with
Mhm.
the type
Mhm.
of trauma work I'm familiar with. A lot, I mean, there's a lot of different approaches and they overlap. They just have different
Yeah.
ways of
Yeah.
naming them or conceptualizing it, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, some of that is combined with my coaching. But the thing I'm really passionate about is music.
Mm.
And from when I was a young kid, I remember just always making up songs and wanting to sing and even singing at talent shows when I was really young. And to be honest, like I don't have the best, strongest singing voice. It's kind of a unique voice,
It's it's
but
kind of funny that they would. It's a
it's a
passion, though.
passion though. It's a
Yeah.
passion,
Yeah.
right? And the songwriting is big for me. So I grew up on CDs in the 90s,
Mhm.
and I would go to Borders and try to find new music. We didn't have Spotify back then and
Yeah. Yeah.
music. So I would go and try to find a new artist I'd never heard of. I'd listen to different things and I would spend
Ah, open your mind
what
up
I
to
had
different
on
music.
CD.
Yeah.
right, and I would open the pamphlet inside and read all the lyrics along.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned about songwriting and structure.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is verse, chorus, verse, there's a bridge here. This is kind of typical. And so like just, constantly listening and observing music. And I
Mm-hmm.
started writing my own songs. And I was really shy growing up and very insecure, low self-esteem. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the cool kid in school. I was
Yeah.
definitely the weirdo nerd and not like, the theater people. I was not
Yeah.
the cool kid. And I was really shy. I wasn't outgoing. But I had been writing songs just for myself, and
Mm,
you know, Facebook became a thing. I remember once I posted a video of me on the ukulele singing a song I wrote, and I'm like
mm.
singing in the bathtub, like I'm clothed, but I'm on the
Yeah.
bathtub, like because that's where I
Yeah.
could find
Yeah.
my family
Good
home.
sound. Yeah.
The acoustics, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I posted that, and that was the first time I publicly shared a song I wrote,
Oh,
and I got good feedback, and I was like, oh,
oh wow.
it's kind of cool to share this, but
Yeah.
usually I just play for my bedroom wall.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
I write songs for. But after I graduated in my with my bachelor's degree in Hawaii, I moved up to Salt Lake City. I had a
Mm,
sister, I had a few siblings living up there. And I moved up there with a sister because I was kind of in an in-between phase. I was gonna
yeah.
take a break before I did grad school. And I had a brother who was living up there who had previously played bass in a reggae band with
Oh.
another artist. And his lead singer had moved away, and so they didn't have a band anymore. And
Mm.
he missed playing and he missed gigging, and he's like, "Hey, you write songs, why don't we start a band?" And this was when I was around 25 already, and
Oh wow.
I've never really played for people. I mean, I did a high school band when I was younger, but it was like cover band, and
Yeah.
it was a long time ago,
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
it had been years since I really performed, and so my brother put it all together. He already knew
Mhm.
some musicians in the city. He booked all the gigs. He was like the manager, but the
Yeah.
bassist as well. And before you knew it, I'm up on stage singing in front of people, and I'm
Oh
like, "How
my
did this
gosh.
happen?" Like I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. What am
It
I
just
doing?
fell into my lap, which was like
Yeah.
such a blessing that I didn't have to,
Go
fight and grind.
search for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just so like entrepreneurial minded. He did
Hmm.
his research, and he was 7 years older than me. So, he's
Yeah.
at a different phase of life where he has the vision, and I'm just kind of
Hmm.
like going with the flow.
Just flow. But you're learning all the way though too.
Yeah, yeah, I was definitely learning. So we would only gig maybe like once a month at different like, bars and venues, but my
Hmm.
second gig ever was opening for a different artist, and we were a reggae band, so it was a big artist, and his name is Kali Buds. For anyone who knows reggae, it's like he's internationally known.
Oh wow.
Not even had a hit in the US. And I was like,
I can't
I don't
believe
know
this.
how to perform yet. Like it's only my second gig, but my brother, he had the business side, so he knew how to like,
Oh,
gigs for us. So that was scary, but I showed up and I
I
did,
bet.
and that's how you learn is you just keep showing up. And
Hmm.
I mean, I had some gigs that were like I just felt awful afterwards because I knew I had bombed it. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
You're like, what did I
there was
just
one that's
do?
just so cringy when I think back on it now, but because of those moments, like when I go on stage now, I'm like, I'm gonna mentally
It
prepare.
pushes
I'm gonna,
you. Yeah.
I'm gonna kill it because I don't ever want to be
Yeah.
in that situation again because it's all just
Yeah.
the mindset that you're in, right?
Hmm.
So I'm going off on tangents now. So that was kind of my
That's
journey.
okay.
Yeah, we recorded an album. We even got on the local news. There was gonna
Oh,
be a big New Year's Eve event that we were playing at, and so my brother, with his skills, booked us to be on the local news to play a song live to promote this.
no way.
And we got on like local radio as well, just to play live once, and it was a really cool experience. Like so many things
Hmm.
were happening, and at the time, I also got married and I
Oh,
had my first baby, and I started grad school for master's in social work because my plan
mm,
was to go on and be a
right.
therapist.
Yeah.
So I had a lot going on, but we were still
Yeah,
getting.
that is.
I have pictures of me on stage pregnant, singing in the front.
You just kept going.
Yeah, we kept going, and it was really fun. And um, but after I had my second baby, things were slowing down. I was really tired during that second
Yeah.
pregnancy. I did let go of some opportunities. And my plan was always I wanted to move back home to Hawaii. I'm a Hawaii
Oh.
girl. I love it. I'm gonna move back home. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna, go on and pursue my career, become a
Mm-hmm.
therapist. And I remember at one point where I had to kind of make this life decision. My brother kind of sat to talk with me, and he was like, I just don't want you to see you give up on your dream.
Mm.
And in my mind, I was thinking, like, what dream? This is not my dream.
This has just been fun.
My dream is to go
Yeah.
be a mom and go live at home in Hawaii and, do my thing. But this is your dream. And what I realize now looking back is that it wasn't my dream because I didn't have any dreams.
Yeah.
Because deep down, I didn't believe in
Right.
myself. I didn't believe anything was possible, and I was passionate and I loved it, but
But you
it,
weren't really,
I
yeah.
didn't see it going anywhere. My brother had the belief, he had the dream. He was like, "We can go tour in California, we can do stuff." And with his drive and his skills, like maybe we could have made something, but in my
Hmm.
mind, I didn't have the belief,
You were living off of his dream. You
I was
were,
living off of
he
his,
was, yeah, he
yeah,
was
off of his faith.
fueling you. Yeah. But
Yeah. But deep down, the truth is, it would have been my dream if I had believed in myself.
yeah.
So that's the thing. It was
Yeah.
a dream because I didn't have any dreams. I was just kind of like,
Right.
well, I'm just gonna, go. Well, I guess being a mom was a dream and all of that. Um, so I moved after I finished grad school. My family, we moved back to Hawaii. My
Oh,
husband, my two children, and that was the end of the band. And before we had moved, while I was pregnant with my second daughter, we had recorded an EP, recorded these tracks um, that needed to be edited before they were
hmm,
released. But, I got busy with school and
yeah.
moving. We're in Hawaii, and for 7 years, those
No.
songs sat on a hard drive.
No. Wow.
And I did the whole thing, I did the social work job, I did it, and my very first job out of grad school was like working in a therapeutic foster
Mm,
system. So it was
hmm.
um foster kids with severe mental illness that
Oh,
needed a higher
man.
level of care than regular foster care. And
Mm,
I was on call 24/7. I was fresh
hmm.
out of grad school, not knowing anything.
Yeah.
The whole program was kind of like chaotic
Hmm.
and weird stuff going on. And then the supervisor would tell me to do one thing, and the
And
director
somebody else tell you something
would tell
else.
me to do
Yeah.
something else. And then, someone
Mm,
in a different program who I have to coordinate with is looking at me like, "What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing." But because I didn't, because
mm.
everyone's telling me different things.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was so stressful. It was, anyways, that was my experience of, oh, this is the real world of
Hmm.
the average career, right? Like, do I really
Hmm.
want to do this forever? It was a very stressful situation.
Mm.
And and then I moved on to hospital social work and then becoming a therapist and doing the trauma counseling. And I love that work. And I
Hmm.
loved being a mom. And also, there was a part of me that just longed for creating music again and just
Mm.
like I missed that shot. And like,
Mm.
I'm never going to be able to do that again.
Oh,
Like, I don't have my brother here to put
yeah,
everything
yeah,
together and
yeah.
all of
You
that.
feel alone.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess I had really taken it for granted, and I missed it. And so but I didn't feel like I was like, oh, I was making all the excuses. I don't have the time to work on this. I
Hmm.
don't have the money to hire someone to edit these. I don't know of a producer who can edit these and work on it.
Hmm.
Like, I was just feeling really stuck. But in 2020, a lot of people had extra time on their hands
Yep.
and
Just a little
decided
bit.
yep, and decided to do things differently. And actually, I had reached out to a producer before the pandemic because he thought he'd be able to finish it within 2 weeks. I
Hmm.
sent it to him, but then the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden his studio
Everything
flooded with
stopped.
people who were like,
Hmm.
"Let's record music," because I lost my
Yeah,
job, nothing
yeah,
else to do.
yeah. Yeah, you found things real quick to do from home.
Yeah. So I had sent him these 4 tracks, and I was like, "Can you just edit and mix these, and so I can release them?" And what was supposed to be 2 weeks actually took like 9 months
Oh
of going
my
back and forth.
goodness.
Like, hey, are you working on it yet? And he's like, I'm
Oh,
so sorry, I got busy. And then I really loved the way he edited it and the arrangements he came up with. They were great. But then when he sent me the finals, like the sound quality sounded off.
Oh
like
no.
something had messed up, and
Yeah.
remember it was like the end of the year, and it was like one of
Mm-hmm.
my biggest goals was like I'm gonna release this EP, and now it's New Year's, and I was feeling kind of upset and like
Because
depressed.
you
Like
couldn't do anything with it.
I was like, I've been working so hard on all these different goals. I was also trying to work on business and personal development, and
Mm-hmm.
music was a piece of that. And I was like, nothing is working out. I was just kind of
Yeah.
depressed.
Getting down.
And I remember just kind of shooting him a text and being like, yo, this sounds is not good.
Yeah. This is not working for
I was
me.
kind of upset. I've waited
Yeah.
all year
Yeah.
and he sent it back and it still didn't sound great. He did
Oh,
try to work on it, but there was something off with it.
something missing. Yeah.
But I thought, you know what? It is what it is. I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna
Mm.
release it. It's not perfect. It's not what I want it to be, but the arrangements sound good. Maybe it sounds like I recorded it in a garage or something, but you know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna put it out there anyways. And so I set the release date, and 7 years after they were recorded, I finally released these songs. And I thought, why don't I shoot one of them to the local radio station and just
Yeah.
see what they think?
Yeah.
And so I sent one of the tracks to a local radio station, which is probably the most popular radio station on our island.
Mm-hmm.
And they play a lot of, Hawaiian reggae
Yeah.
island
Yeah.
music. And they loved it. And they said, hey, we don't know who you are, where you came from. Can we do a little interview with you and release
Oh,
your song? And I got to do an interview on the radio
how
and my
cool.
first recorded song get radio air. And they
Mm.
continued to play that. And this was from this recording that had been sitting on a hard drive for
For
7 years.
7 years.
Who I had tried to edit all year, which I thought was not good enough.
Yeah.
It was my first radio play track.
Mm.
Um, and so I'm like, there's so many lessons in that, of
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
of doing that thing that you feel called to do and pulled to do, even when it doesn't make sense, and
When it's
removing those excuses.
messy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and doing
Yeah.
it messy, showing
Yeah.
up imperfectly instead of
Yeah.
saying, I'm embarrassed. I don't ever want to share this with anyone. I could have done that and not released it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I wouldn't
You
have
wouldn't
had
have
that
gotten
journey.
all the joy and everything out of that you were supposed to get if you had
Yeah.
held back.
And
Yeah.
because of that, now I've released two more singles since then that have gotten radio play on
Yay.
Big Island, on Maui, on Kauai.
That is awesome.
And the second one that I released made it onto like the number one requested song. And I wasn't even there anymore. I had moved to Georgia, so I didn't even know until months later. Someone told me, I was like, "Yeah, they play the song all the time," and I was like, "What?"
That's so cool.
But and it's just a small town thing. It's not like I'm
But
huge.
it's still, it's home, and that's where
Yeah,
that
it's
needed to
small,
be. Yeah.
and it's being seen as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
but being
Mm-hmm.
seen because I'm a mom now. I'm not gigging. I'm not up on stage, but at
Mm-hmm.
least I'm still sharing my
Yeah.
music with someone, and it's touching
Yeah.
someone. And so that um, I guess that experience has kind of led me in my coaching to have this passion for helping people to return to those things that they're passionate about, or
Mm-hmm.
to discover those things that feel really aligned with them and that they feel
Mm-hmm.
called to do, even when it
Mm-hmm.
logically doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Like, well, I need to go do this career and this. Like, I can't make money from that. Why do that, right? But you feel called to it for a reason. And the joy that it brings when
Mm-hmm.
you do those things that are
Mm-hmm.
your gift. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's a reason you're supposed to be sharing it with others, right? So I love helping my clients. Some of them, a lot of my clients right now, my one-on-one coaching clients, are in career changes where they're pivoting,
Oh,
they're realizing this is what I've been doing and
and
it's
this
not
is what I'm
aligned
meant
anymore.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm meant to
Yeah.
do, or I'm trying to figure out what I'm meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that freedom to kind of let go of those societal expectations and
Mm-hmm.
kind of explore what feels intuitively right for you.
Right. And I
Yeah.
ask that question a lot of times when I'm meeting people and finding out what they do in our line of work that we were doing. I met a lot of people and I could tell they were miserable. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you here then? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Well, it pays my bills. Yeah, but you're not happy and you're not getting out of life in the years that we have here what you could be experiencing. Go after that.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just kills me to see somebody work so hard in a career, but then yet they're not happy in that career. And
Yeah.
like, because you've been told that you're supposed to do that or be that, we have parents, we have grandparents. I mean, my grandmother said, you're going to be a nurse, you're going to be a nurse. And I'm like, I wanted to be in the medical field. And I did some of that and through my schooling and stuff, but that wasn't what I was called to do.
Mhm.
So it's like, no, not going to be a nurse. I
Yeah.
love nurses. I love what they do, but that was not my calling. Um, so yeah, that's so important that you can help people do that and see that before. I mean, we're only here so long. I
Yeah.
look at life now and I'm 62 and I think I just see doors opening now that I had not allowed to open,
Yeah.
because I felt like I had to do all this over here first
Yeah.
and putting me back here later. While all along I could have been doing that, which I was probably doing some of it, but now I'm fully into it.
But I love that you're doing it because so
Yeah,
many people in your position could be like, well, it's too late. I didn't do it
yeah,
back.
yeah.
What
And
can I
I've
do
had
now?
those thoughts, we do because we're like, well, I can just stay doing what I'm doing because like start now.
Yeah,
No,
but
I
you're
tell
doing
everybody, I say start now
it.
because you will be so blessed. And the minute, however many days left you got, you'll be blessed, and just think of the impact that you're making. How important that is. If I change one life, okay, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So, yeah, I am working towards becoming a 180 method coach. I
Awesome.
have a coaching program, got my life coaching certification, but I know that the healing has to happen.
Hmm.
That has to be a part of your package because if you don't do that, then you're just going to keep 360 and right. You're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over. You feel good for a while.
Yeah.
We get through some of the self-help, feel great, and then boom, you're right back doing the same
Absolutely.
thing.
When you're stuck in a pattern, there
Yeah.
is healing that needs to take place because we can do all the mindset work, we can do all the
Mhm,
journaling. And there's a difference. I always tell clients there's a difference what you know, because they always say,
mhm.
oh, I know this. But there's a difference between what you logically know and what you emotionally feel. And
Right,
when there's
right.
incongruence, that's
Oh,
where the
yeah.
healing needs to take place so that, whenever we say we're triggered or whatever, like, I'm triggered by this. I know she didn't mean that, but I
Yeah.
feel really hurt. Okay.
Emotionally, you're really
Yeah,
still
emotionally,
attached to that.
something
Mhm.
coming up. That's where there's healing that needs to take place, right? And working through finding those memories that need to be processed
Mhm.
and healed.
Mm. And that's what happened a few years ago, well, last year, or maybe 2 years already. Time goes by so fast, that I went through Alejandra's training and coaching. And I kept putting her off because I was like, "I'm fine." I mean, I had a great childhood. I had all these things, like, I don't need to heal from anything, and a lot of people feel that way. Um, and she's like, "No, I think it's time." I was like, "Yeah, I guess it is." And so I went through that, and oh, wow, when I went back to my inner child and
Yeah.
found what I had buried so deep, and you
Yeah.
don't realize how deep you bury it and then just carry on.
Hmm.
But then when I look back through that process, I saw how it had interfered in my life unknowingly because I
Yeah.
had buried it in decisions that I made, choices, all those things. And I'm like, wow. And so when I had that realization and was able to come forward with it and freedom, I mean, that was my word for the year too. But how crazy was that? I have prayed so hard that when I do take a word for the year, it's from him. I
Mhm.
don't want just to say, "Oh, this is my word,"
Right.
because then what? You don't know the meaning comes out of it. And so for the past like 4 or 5 years, the words have truly been what I needed. I
What
mean, this
happened
this
that
year.
year?
And when God was telling me this year, it's like contagious. I'm like, "What?
Ooh, tell me
You
about
want me
that.
to contagious? Okay, now I know we've heard it a lot this year, but you really want me to say have that word?" And it was I'm gonna find it real quick here because I have it in the front of my planner where I wrote it all down. Um, I'm like, okay, contagious. And it's like, don't yield to fear or be troubled in your hearts. Instead, be contagious. And
Mm.
that's John 14:27. And I'm
Ooh,
like,
I love that.
wow.
Be
And so is he's
contagious.
commanding us, we must be contagious. He wants us to be contagious. So I can imply that in all different areas of my life. And I have felt it this year, because we had a major pivot in our life in August. And so just the way he's allowed doors open since January for me, it's just been contagious. It's just been
I love
great.
it. I
So,
mean, even in your podcasting, like the fact that you are the example to other people, like Laura's doing it, maybe I could do it. And then you're
mhm,
actually helping them by your program.
mhm.
to
Hmm.
launch their podcast. Like it's contagious.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
sharing your message and you're helping others to share their message. I love it.
And
Yeah.
that was a Brooke implant because you get coaching with Brooke, many things happen.
Yep.
And we had our one-on-one just before January, and she planted that seed. She said, "Why aren't you doing this?" 'Cause I'd already helped Darlene and get her started, and I just had fun with it. She's like, "Laura, you have a 4-week program, do it." I was like, "Oh, okay." I do. And so I was like, I just sat and God just started giving me all the stuff and planting it and doing, and I thought, okay, I'll put it out there. And then it's just been rolling right along. And I'm like, thank you. This is just so cool because it's women like me that are thinking, why should I do a podcast?
Mhm.
Who's going to listen to me? All the thoughts you have. And my husband is the one that said, do a podcast. I was like, why? He's like, because you love to talk for one. But he said, you're good. And he has one. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And when I first started, like, messy, and I didn't feel right in it. I went for so many months and then I stopped and got my life coaching certification, did some things with my life, building my belief. And then the Lord started planting in me the journey within you. I'm
Mm.
like, oh, I
I
see
love that
where we're
title,
going.
Madeline. So good.
I love where we're going with that. And he just to open this format for women to come share their stories, the messy, the good, the bad, everything. And I've had women on that have never told their story ever. And I thought, wow, that's why for you to come and share because people need to hear what you've gone through. There's women out there that have beautiful input on music and want to do music, but they haven't because they don't feel they're worthy enough, or who's going to listen, or I don't have you say, I'm not really a singer, but you like to write and you like to play. But there's many out there that feel that way
Mhm.
and don't realize what the joy they're missing by sharing that with someone. When you put that one out there and it was like, ooh,
And the impact you can have, even if it's one person, like, even if you only have 5 listeners, if
yeah.
that song resonates with one person, like you've touched their
That's
life.
who you wrote that song for.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how you've helped. When I was in the band, and like I share these stories because like I'm a nobody artist,
Yeah.
I have maybe like 60 monthly listeners on Spotify.
I'm
Nobody
a
knows.
nobody podcaster.
Not,
I'm like, I'm
I'm not
not.
kidding. But I'm still gonna show up and I'm still gonna keep writing because I love
Mhm,
it. And
mhm.
God, it keeps calling me to do it. But
Yeah.
when I had the band, some years ago, 10 years ago, more than that now, um, when I had released my first album, somebody shared a blog post on social media, and I didn't know who this person was. She was a stranger. I think she might have been a friend of a friend because I didn't have a huge
Mhm.
following for my band. And
Right.
she had been battling cancer, and she talked
Mhm,
about her struggle with depression as she was going through this
mhm.
trial. And she had been listening to Adele's album, and she was just feeling really like wallowing in the depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody, a friend of hers, shared my album with her, and she said it just uplifted her and made her feel
Mm,
whole again. And she felt
mhm,
light and hope and
mhm.
like this renewed, sense of like wanting to
Mhm.
reach for happiness or whatever. And
Right.
I don't know who she was, but that I
Yeah.
will always remember that because I'm
Yeah, you
like,
will.
that
Yeah.
touched someone's life in a hard
Yeah.
time. Even if no one has listened to my album
And it
since.
was just a shift in music because we don't realize how some music can pull you down deeper instead of what you're
Absolutely.
looking for and needing in that moment. Because music, I love music. I've sang, because I was raised in church. My dad's a pastor. So, music was a thing. And we always sang and did and do, always in chorus. So, music can touch me. I have it in my ears while I'm in here working. But I
Mhm.
know what I need to be listening to in order to stay where I need to be.
Everything influences you, right? Everything
Yeah.
you're inputting
Yeah.
is going to influence your
The
thoughts.
people you surround yourself
Yeah.
with, the places you go is so vital to how
What
you
you
lead.
read, the shows you watch, it's
Mhm,
all influencing our brain. And so if
mhm.
you find yourself in this place where I'm like, I'm depressed or I'm angry or I'm struggling, it's like, what are you feeding your
What are you
mind?
doing?
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What are you connecting with? I love that you're in mastermind. I was starting in that last year, got all in, and then my husband came down. Yeah, he's sick with cancer, colon cancer. And so we're at stage 4 and he's not going to do any treatments or anything. So we're walking that journey right now. And I knew that was not something I could do. And because
Yeah.
we had a lot happen in August because we had work stopped immediately. We have our own company. And so it was just like,
Seasons of
uh,
life. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
had to figure all that out again and get moved and into a smaller place. And, God has blessed us. And so we just keep moving forward. He's getting to do his virtual classes now and teaching, and he loves that. And so I'm thankful for that came about in 2020 more so, and more people open to it, right? Um, Used to you had to be in person only, and now he's able to do the online. And we have two guys out there carrying on our company so that we can keep it going because we have some amazing customers, and it's just been good. And I'm getting to work from home and do lots of new things and
And
great
you're
things.
still showing up in spite of everything you're going through. That's
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah. Well, you can either crawl in a hole and feel sorry for yourself and live in that pity and live miserable. And I don't want to live miserable. Not while I'm here. Yeah, I have bad days. We all have bad days, and that's what I say. I have a bad day, and okay, let's go. You've had that moment. Time to move on. And I have to work on those thoughts
Yeah.
constantly, constantly. Is
I
what we
bet
do.
I bet it helps to have a purpose though. You know, when you're going
Yeah.
through something dark like that, like this
Yeah.
is an outlet for you where you
Yeah.
get to express and you get to connect and you get to hear other people's stories and it's like that's really meaningful and so when
Hmm.
people were just like going through it heavy or they're unhappy or miserable in their job or their personal life, it's like what are you doing that lights you up? Like go
Yeah.
find that thing
Yeah,
because
and they're not doing
don't carry
anything.
your
I
burden.
talked to a young mother the other day and has a beautiful child. Her and her husband are working full-time jobs, one morning, one night, not even seeing each other. And
Yeah.
I told her, I said, girl, take and get that calendar out on your refrigerator and you mark a date day or a date night. You got to connect. You got to
Yeah.
change things up a little bit because y'all are just like, just living. You're not really, you're happy, but you're not. So you've got to make sure you connect daily or
Yeah.
weekly or something.
Yes, yes, be
Yeah.
intentional, right? Because
Hmm.
it's so easy to get caught up in the rat race of life
Hmm.
that it's like if you are not intentional about the kind of life you want to create and carving out those pockets for self-care and relationships
And
and
fun.
spirituality
Fun.
and fun, yes, then
Yes.
it's like it's not gonna happen, right? There's so many other demands, so it's like really,
Yeah. It's like we see each other every day. We work together. And I still plan those date Saturdays and stuff for us to go do something and connect in a different way. And
yes,
you have to because people are like, well, you're together all the time. But yeah, we're working. We're not really
right,
connecting. We're working. And so when we can just put all this behind us and have a fun day, it's great. And you breathe life into you again and you have hope and you do a lot of, it's just good. I have to have that on my calendar or I
I love
wouldn't be where I am right now.
it's a good reminder for me. We
Yeah.
got 5 kids, so
Oh,
coordinating those things can be tricky sometimes.
yeah. Yeah. But I mean, when you do, you're like, wow, why don't we do this more often?
Yes,
You
yeah.
know, you're like, because now does he work out of the home or does he work at home as
We
well?
work out of the home and we homeschool, so our kids are here like
All the time.
24/7.
Hmm.
Then
Yeah.
I'm working on his days off. That's when I see clients, and so we
Yeah.
are kind of like, but
Yeah.
we're night owls, and we gotta change this because we need to sleep more. But like
Yeah.
1 o'clock in the morning is when we're talking and laughing and
Yeah. Yeah.
recording podcasts and hanging out. So I'm
I
like, but the
love
kids
it.
are
I
asleep and
love
it's
it.
quiet.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's quiet. You don't have to worry about any interrupting. Yeah, I get that. I get that. But he'll work you, I think those are called sacrifices, right?
yeah,
We've had to put those hours in to get where we are today.
yeah,
So it meant sacrificing in some areas. And then you start figuring out how to bring that back in, you
yeah.
know, in a different way, in a different time. And they get older. The kids get older. They do
Season
move
of
out.
life, right? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. We're empty nesters because I wrote my two oldest granddaughters. We raised them for 8 years,
Oh
and I
wow.
kept asking God, like, "Why are you giving me teenagers again? I'm like, why are we doing this
I
again?"
already went through this.
Yes, I'm like, I don't quite understand this, and it was hard. Times were harder even for kids. I'm like, oh, and I tried a year for homeschooling because I was so frustrated with the school, and I was like, we're just gonna come out. We need a break, and we need to do something different. And it was good for them and me too. I mean, I found a great program that they got to go once a week and have class, and so it wasn't all on me because I was like, I'm not a
Yeah,
teacher, figuring all that out. And I think that was a good experience for them too, to see how they had to really take charge of their schooling, and do things to be where they want to get today. And I just got a video from my oldest granddaughter. She is an officer now, police officer for a county not too far from us. She got tased today as part of her training. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
we
oh
didn't
my
do that.
gosh. Oh, that was rough to watch. I'm like, are you okay? Does
That's
grandma need to
hardcore.
come?
That is tough. My
Yeah.
husband was a police officer
Oh,
in Hawaii, and yeah, the things they go through when they're in the academy, it's like
yeah.
it
Yeah.
gives a newfound respect for police. Just
She said, "Don't run from an officer. Whatever you do, don't run." She said I said, "Do you have to go through this again?" And another, because she's still got to go do a 2-week training. And she said, "No, it's in my record. It's done." I'm like, thank goodness. But
I'm never running tased
she's
again.
an Army Reserve, so she went through the Army, so she's tough, but still, I'm like, no way would I do that. I was pretty proud of her to be
That's
doing what
awesome.
she's doing, but
Yeah.
well, Sarah, I have enjoyed this so much. And you're in Georgia. You're not, where are you at located?
I'm just south of Atlanta in Fayetteville.
Okay, because
It's
I'm
a,
in Rome.
okay,
So we'll
and
have to plan a time around all the
yeah,
children and everything and see each other.
would be
Gosh,
awesome.
that
And
would be so fun. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
thank you
living
so much for
close.
having me. It's been a pleasure to share and talk with you, and yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.